Alright, today is the day. And the day for what, you ask? Well, I'm starting to get a lot of comments and messages about where are you okay? Or for some of you who use social media for your dopamine fix, there's those crying, where's my video? And yes, it's been over 2 months since I posted a video. But today is the day. I've been working on lots of little things, some so minute that they don't have really anything worth turning the camera on for. But for some, I did turn the camera on. So let's roll the tape and I'll explain my absence. There are a few things that I've learned doing YouTube. Never present your work as a tutorial unless you really know what you're doing. I've tried to format my videos a little more like a vlog format, where I'm just showing you what I've been working on. Sometimes because I don't know what I'm doing. But there is the trap in the vlog style as well, as no one really gives a rat what Jay did for lunch yesterday. If that's what you're here for, you need to get a new life, you know? Most of you are here to see the intricacies of what it takes to accomplish a difficult task. And since we're all car people, in this case it's working on a difficult build. And difficult builds take time, especially when you can't plunge full-time into it. So why don't I plunge full-time into it? Well, because YouTube sucks, that's why. Okay, I said it. But I only kind of mean it. So let me explain. When I decided to drop my life, or at least this part of my life, into YouTube, I had a very clear purpose. It was to make connections and inspire the next generation of engineers. It was not to make money with video production and get trapped by that constant grind of a YouTube business. I have another business that keeps me quite comfortable. I don't need YouTube to bring in extra cash. In fact, if I just got rid of all these car projects, I'd have a lot of extra cash. Now, this is not to say I don't want the channel to grow. It needs to grow to reach more of those young engineers we're talking about. But as soon as I start to do all those things that have been proven to drive YouTube success, then I feel like I'm kind of losing the inspiration aspect and just becoming another entertainment channel. How many young people have been inspired to move into an interesting technical career by elephant toothpaste explosions or filling the swimming pool with Herbies or Pokemon trading cards? I don't think the number is very high. If I were seeking YouTube fame and fortune, I'm in the wrong niche and speaking to the wrong age group here. And speaking of age, let me address that. And that'll kind of bring us full circle back to why I don't pursue this channel and the car projects full time. Simply said, I'm getting old. Just middle-aged old right now, mind you. But I've developed varied interest over the years. I'm not purely a petrol head. I want to become a master portrait painter. I'm building a 5-acre formal garden. I want to write another book or two and do some traveling. Now, don't let that scare you. I hope to do a bunch of that traveling in a peculiar overlanding truck and a little blue sports car. And after that, maybe traveling in a couple of different other cars and an airplane maybe? Yeah, that might be coming. So I'm not telling you Build a Creator is going full Bob Ross portrait painting and gardening. It's not. The plan is for the videos to start to flow again, and in a serious way. Sometimes the build-up for a slew of videos is kind of behind-the-scene content, and that isn't worth the content sometimes. Remember, you don't care what Jay had for lunch, do you? Well, when it becomes more interesting and applicable than lunch, then it'll land in a video. Lately, there's been a lot of boring behind-the-scenes stuff getting done. A lot of little things like the stuff you're watching. In itself, it's not worth a video. How about this one? I got these polyurethane bushing bump stops in. The bolt goes in the hole, a nut on the backside. Tighten it up and voila, we have a bump stop. Now we got some protection for those shocks when crossing over a log or something. Now boy, wouldn't that have disappointed you? Yay, a new Build a Creator video. Then bump stops? Are you serious? Well, it has to be a good video, or at least a decent video. There has to be some production value, some type of story, some closure. I'm just trying to make these videos worth your time. I don't want you leaving boring bump stop videos and clicking over to supercar crashes or SEMA tours. I've got really cool stuff coming. Just let me get it out of the oven. And with that, I'll quit rambling about YouTube woes, and we'll take a look at maybe a little more serious or a little more involved project. Let's jump over to that. Now we're going to start working on a bunch of sheet metal that goes inside of the cab. And on this one, we're looking at kind of a piece, I'm going to call it the headliner. And it's going to be a channel for a bunch of wiring, some cameras, and a bunch of fuse panels, switches, things like that. And it's going to be hinged to the ceiling so that it can open up and give us access to surfacing all that wiring and components in there. So I've got it tied up against the ceiling, and tighten up my rope so it is tied against the ceiling. And going to drill and rivet this stainless steel hinge along that leading edge. That will be our hinge point, and then there'll be some brackets that tie it into the back. We've got the hinge riveted on out in the shop. Now brought it out here. If we can keep gravity from pulling our rivets out, we will get some rivets in there. Another view here showing the final rivets on that hinge. And you can see how when it swings down, that'll be very nice to give us complete access to all the wiring, fuse panels and stuff that's going to be embedded underneath that. Now the dashboard itself is going to be bolted in, and it's going to be rubbing on this metal, so we're going to fix that. We're going to put this rubber seal on there. So we have to trim off a little bit to give us room to put that rubber seal on so that we still have good fitment after the rubber is put on. So of course a carbide skill saw is a great tool for working in aluminum. I also needed one more hole for a chase for wiring loom to come through. An old broken hole saw is all I had, so I had to just kind of do a jig out of these pieces of wood so I could get my hole drilled. And now we can take all the sheet metal that's been tack welded here together. We've got things pretty much where we want them. So we're going to start stitching this thing up with a bunch of TIG welding. Up on this front corner is where the steering column is going to attach. So we're going to put some triangular gussets in here to kind of reinforce that. Get a little more rigidity where that steering column hooks into this part of the dashboard. There'll be a couple other mounting points as it pierces through, right through by the pedal mechanism that came out of the original truck. That bolts in place, but all this is going to be stiffening up the sheet metal that's basically supporting that. Flip it over, put another triangle gusset on the opposite side. Like I said, just trying to do as much reinforcing as we can. You'll see lots of holes in this thing. We have holes for ductwork, holes for the radio, up for a little screen there for some functions of entertainment, things like that. Also another big one there kind of by my leg is going to be another drawer. You'll see all these little places where you're going to have storage areas. Once we got the thing welded up, it's time to put it back in place. Of course, another just a temporary fit. All this, well, most of the time, everything you're doing is temporary fitting. And then there is this floor box. You saw me putting the drawer slides on that before. Going to be another little storage compartment in that. A little bit too much of a drop for your feet area there. And also going to be a chase to run wiring underneath there as well. Now we got a couple of seats from a wrecking yard that we're going to make a couple of cross braces to attach to the floor. Now most cars have converted to this kind of a system where the feet on the chairs are a little bit at an angle. If they were flat, then the bolts would travel straight to the floor and you would have all these bolts dangling out the bottom of the vehicle. And so they don't want to do that. They want to have the bolts be able to be enclosed in an area. So that's what we're doing. We're building actually these little enclosed areas where the seats will actually be bolted to these little brackets. Bent them up at made a little U-channel, welding the ends shut to stiffen things up. And then we'll take these things outside and give them a trial fit as well. And ultimately, once we get those located in place, we'll weld them solidly to the floor. And you'll see how the feet are angled a little bit just like that. Get a little measurement so we can make sure this thing's parallel on the floor against our footrest there. Give it a mark so we know where to weld that once we get some other things test fit again. Now the next thing we need to do is get that steering column in so that we know that we're in a good position. Feet pedals seems to be your right place. Now we have a little bracket that we reinforced there, so we're going to swing our steering column up. Now it mounts to the aluminum at the very tip. It'll have another bracket that mounts it right where the universal joint goes through the sheet metal. And we should have some good reinforcement. Right now we're just trying to get everything fitted to make sure everything is exactly in the place where we need it. But pretty soon these things will all be ready and we're going to start insulating these pieces and putting some wiring in. And we're just about to that point.